Hi there, good afternoon. Hope you're all having a great start to the conference. Some great sessions this morning, and look forward to a few more days of great collaboration and learning. I'm Rohit Jainendra. I go by RJ, and I'm the Chief Product Officer here at Electric Cloud. Now, just a show of hands, how many folks in the room are Electric Cloud customers? Okay, a good handful, but looks like a lot of folks are new to the company. So our mission at Electric Cloud is really to help our customers deliver better software faster, and really happy to get a lot of like-minded folks here at this conference so that then we can learn and go back and advance DevOps practices as we get back to our organizations. And so, as Steve mentioned, and you've probably heard this quite a bit, succeeding at DevOps is a multifaceted problem, and a significant portion of it has to do with culture and processes. It's about people. And back in 2010, at the first US DevOps days, John Willis and Damon Edwards coined this acronym, CAMS, which really encapsulates the core values of the DevOps movement. And starting with culture, that's really about breaking down barriers between teams and encouraging healthy interaction between them, rather than relying on ticketing systems and writing lots of documentation, sometimes for the person sitting right next to you. And automation is all about using tools and technology to eliminate all the mundane manual work that people do, which can over time become error prone. And so it's really about preventing defects and providing consistency. And also, to some extent, once you have automated things, you can also provide self-service as a capability as well. Of course, you need to be able to measure your progress towards your goals, and so measurement is really important. And having measurement also leads to decisions that are based on data as opposed to being based on instinct or sometimes even just based on personality. And of course, with sharing, you're all here to learn and kind of propagate the learnings around DevOps, and that's something that's important in organizations as well. So at Electric Cloud, we help our customers by essentially automating and accelerating the software delivery lifecycle. And we do that with a couple of products. Electric Flow is our technology for automating the entire lifecycle, right from once a developer has written the lines of code all the way through testing, deployment, and release into production environments. Or if you're an embedded systems company, you're building devices, we can also manage that all the way through release to manufacturing. And if you're an Electric Cloud customer, Electric Flow was previously called Electric Commander. We rebranded it earlier this year, but it has all the capabilities of Commander. It's a seamless upgrade. It does have a better UI. Now, once you've automated the whole process, you still want to, there may still be bottlenecks, and we have another product called Electric Accelerator that can be used to speed up builds and tests. A lot of times we hear from people that they've automated things, but their testing cycles are taking too long. And so Accelerator is some technology that we have, I'll talk a little bit more of, that can speed up that whole process. So a lot of people here may have things like Chef and Puppet, and you may be thinking, hey, do I need more technology to kind of further my practice of DevOps and improve my continuous delivery? And if you look at enterprise-grade continuous delivery, there are different modules that are needed, and let me go through them. So of course, there's build test automation. Once developers have written the code, you do need to have CI, and you need to be able to test it as well. But then beyond that, once you have your binaries, you want to store them securely in an artifact repository, and there are many different products out there for that as well. And once these binaries are stored in a repo, you want to be able to deploy them. You want to be able to deploy them to different environments in an automated way. And if you're talking about complicated applications, it may take a lot of work to actually, in coordination, to get the deployment happen. There's also, in these environments, there's also provisioning and configuration management. So before you deploy an application, you want to be able to provision and configure. This is where tools like Chef and Puppet have a popular role. And of course, you're talking about integrating, deploying across different environments. So you have to have a lot of tool integrations. And once you deploy, you want to be able to monitor the application and infrastructure to make sure it's all working. But to tie it all together, you do need some sort of pipeline and release orchestration to bring all these pieces together, right? So you're deploying into early environments in a certain way, in an automated fashion, but then be able to carry that forward into subsequent environments as well. So Gartner, the analyst firm, the way they look at the landscape is they break down tools into DevOps ready, enabled, and capable categories. DevOps ready are tools that are really purpose-built for these types of use cases around automated software delivery. DevOps enabled tools are tools that can fit into a pipeline, and they primarily focus on software verification, validation. And then finally, DevOps capable tools. These are standalone tools that have been around for a while, but you can configure them to work as part of a pipeline. And then under the DevOps ready category, they break it down into two: configuration automation. And so these are the tools, usually with a programmatic interface. You've all heard the term infrastructure as a service. And so where your DevOps engineers can program how to configure large numbers of systems with large number of servers. And this is really where Chef and Puppet are really good. But then there's another category that the analysts talk about, which is application release automation. And application release automation tools, they offer the automation to be able to take related artifacts, applications, the configuration, sometimes even associated data, and move them down the application lifecycle from environment to environment. And so usually application release automation, or ARA for short, these tools will have concepts around workflow. They'll have concepts around environment modeling and also automation or process creation that you can use or reuse to be able to deploy your applications. And so we think that putting it all together, you can have a nice seamless experience. And a lot of times it looks something like this, where you may have your development teams done with their work. They've handed over the binaries that need to be deployed. And you may have a path to production that looks like something like this, right? You have a few different stages: UAT, pre-production, production. And if you click into the pre-production environment, to be able to deploy software into it, you need to be able to first provision the environment if you're using, say, a cloud-based system. And you'd need to be able to configure the operating system, packages, install middleware. Maybe your application needs WebSphere or WebLogic or Tomcat, et cetera. So you need to be able to install and configure that middleware. What ports to use, what ports to close, et cetera. And once you've done that, then you need to be able to deploy applications onto that infrastructure, right? So if it's a complex multi-tier application with a database component, a web server component, app server, queues, you need to be able to do that in a coordinated fashion. A lot of times there's dependencies and sequencing that has to be thought about. Once the applications are deployed, they may need to be configured as well. They may have their own properties. And a lot of times, once you've deployed something, you would typically run a test. You run a smoke test. So you may need to configure the tests, run them, analyze the results. And oftentimes, there's still eyes on the glass, a manual step where someone looks at it and says, yep, makes sense, good to go, and does that approval. So the way this shapes up is configuration management with the tools like Chef and Puppet really do that job at the infrastructure level really well, right? So you can provision, you can configure your infrastructure, your middleware. And when it comes to the rest of it, deploying the applications, configuring them, running tests, getting the results, all of that, doing that for one environment in an automated way, and then moving that into subsequent environments, including production, that's really the domain of where ARA, application release automation, comes in. And with Electric Cloud, Electric Flow, that's the area that we target. So when you talk about delivering applications into environments, oops, could we go back one slide? I think that, not sure about the timing on the slides here, but if you could flip back to the paste layered applications. I just have one big green button. I'll just keep talking. If you can flip back to one slide, that'd be great. So when you talk about delivering applications, there are different types of applications, right? And the Gartner analysts look at it in a three-tier category. One is what they call systems of record, right? And these are applications that they manage critical customer data, right? So these may be ERP systems. There are lots of COTS that fall into that category. And the concerns here are really around risk. And so the rate of change is slow. There's a lot of compliance. And so there's more emphasis on control for these systems of record. The next layer up is really you have systems. These are automating the business processes. And these have a kind of a moderate rate of change in the sense that they are now, the slides are just kind of moving forward. And I'm not sure how to pause them. So I'll just keep talking. But if you're operating the PowerPoint, please pause it. So the next layer are these systems which are all about automating business processes, and they change at a moderate pace every 1 to 3 years, and the requirements change based on changing business practices. And then you have systems of innovation, and these are the experimental things where it's all about a new idea, the requirements are not solidified, and you really need to be nimble. And so what we see is it's not sort of everybody, an organization can move to DevOps and start doing continuous delivery in one fell swoop. It's really based on the kinds of applications that you're working on, and the adoption happens in pockets. And so as you look at the market in terms of the tools, what we saw is an opportunity at Electric Cloud, because what we saw, there were two kinds of tool sets. One targeting the traditional software releases, the big bang release, where you may have a few hundred applications being deployed on a weekend every 6 months, where it's all hands on deck, people are frantically working that weekend, lots of conference calls, et cetera. And then there's also the next generation of tools, which are all about continuous delivery. And so with the tools targeting continuous delivery, they do a really great job of taking an application and being able to automate its flow all the way from early environments into production, but it's really for a small scale, a single application. And what we saw was customers were having to make a choice. Either they had tools that helped them with traditional release management, or they had tools that helped with continuous delivery. But really, in an organization where they were doing both, there was sort of a little bit of fragmentation. Which tool set do you really go out and use? In fact, one of our customers had this challenge in that they had a very solid enterprise release management practice. They had created their own homegrown tool to manage their traditional releases, releasing a few hundred applications every quarter. And they had that under control. They felt that that was working well. But they were starting to get blindsided. They were getting blindsided by these DevOps teams that were starting to make changes to applications and not using the homegrown technology because it wasn't fit to purpose around continuous delivery. But they were still delivering applications, in some cases, to the same environments. And so there were conflicts and clashes that were starting to happen. And so at Electric Cloud, we wanted to solve that problem. And so what we've done there is really created Electric Flow Release, a new product, to really kind of fill that gap so that you have one technology which you can use for traditional release management as well as for continuous delivery. So really pleased to announce this is generally available now. And it's built on the same Electric Flow platform. So the same platform that our customers use to automate their builds and tests, the same platform that they use for automating the deployments of applications. Electric Flow Release is built on that same platform, so you do have that end-to-end visibility on a single platform, and that's very valuable if you're trying to answer difficult questions of what got where. So just at a glance, unified management for traditional and continuous delivery pipelines and releases. It's part of the unified continuous delivery ARA solution from Electric Cloud, and it has features around pipelines and stages and gates. You have release planning concepts, so you can plan your releases, you can have all the approvals planned in, et cetera, and a dashboard that gives you a bird's eye view into where things stand for a release, as well as views for the path to production. And of course, the benefits of all this is to provide you better visibility, improved coordination among your team members, more predictability, and a higher quality of releases. So enough talking about the product. Let me just show you a couple of key screens and what we deliver there. So brand new, very modern user interface. It's mobile ready, so if you have a tablet, an iPad, it works on it. And right front and center are the things that we work on around releases, applications, environments. And a key screen here is the release dashboard, which gives you a bird's eye view into the different releases that are ongoing. They may be being planned, they may be being executed on. And you get a quick view of the status, where things stand. Are things on track? All green. Are there problems? Red. And you can drill in and look at the pipeline. A pipeline for a release is the release process. Again, a drag and drop interface to creating the pipelines, and you can model your stages and gates. Gates could be entry gates or exit gates with approvals. Right now, the approvals are manual, but in future, we'll have automated approvals as well. And you can really control the flow of the bits across the different stages with the pipeline. And in any given stage, you can have a lot of different activities. You can have deployments, You could have manual steps. You could have integrations to other third-party systems like ticketing systems. For example, you may be using a service desk and need to keep your stakeholders informed of progress. They could just be manual steps as well. So all of that can be modeled in the pipeline. And as part of the release formation, you can also then choose what kinds of applications, which applications need to be packaged and delivered in the release, what versions. You can also choose which environments these applications need to be deployed to. The environments could be cloud-based, they could be on-premise, they could be hybrid, could be a mix. And the way that works is you can pretty much go ahead and define environment templates within Electric Flow. And so you could go in, and if you were choosing you could set up a multi-tier environment with the database, app server, web server, et cetera. And for each tier, you could go ahead and register. If you wanted to come from a cloud provider, you could register which cloud provider you're using. And here's where if you're using a configuration management tool like a Chef or a Puppet, you can also define configuration and convergence steps so that those tools can do their job vis-a-vis provisioning and configuring the infrastructure to the desired state before when you go and deploy the application bits on top of it. And so once you have a release that's executing, the release dashboard really it works as a central sort of console to give you a bird's eye view of what's going on. And if there's a situation, you can drill in and get more details. So you could go in and look at a pipeline, right? You can get a detailed view of a pipeline, how it's executing, which stage you're in. And again, if there's a manual intervention needed, there's kind of visual indicators for that. And again, if there's a failure in the pipeline, again, that gets visualized very clearly as well and bubbled up all the way up to the release dashboard. So you get a quick view on how things are going and able to take actions to address them. There's also a path to production view. So based on the release manifest, the bill of material for release, as you look at all the different environments that release has to make its way through, which environments have the right bits, which ones don't. Having that compliance view is something else that we provide as well. And in this case, you can see that my production environment is not compliant. There's a wrong version of an application there, and now I can go ahead and run my deployment automation to correct it, in which case then this would reflect the correct state. So all of this is available. And again, if you're an Electric Cloud customer, you already have access to this. But if you're not, there is a community edition that we've made available for download. So please feel free to download it, take a look around. The community edition comes with 10 free hosts, endpoints that you can automate. And that should be enough for you to start playing around and seeing if it works for you. So coming back to the pipeline, if you kind of drill down into this pipeline here, one of the steps that we have is running Selenium tests. A lot of us use Selenium for regression tests, UI-based regressions. And our experience is, and we hear this from customers as well, is those tests take time. In this example here, they're taking about 12 hours. That's actually the case at Electric Cloud as well. And so once you've automated your delivery process, you've automated your infrastructure configuration, you've automated your deployments, et cetera, you might find that testing is still a bottleneck, not just because of the amount of time it takes to run comprehensive tests. And this is an area that we address with a product called Electric Accelerator. So Electric Cloud has had this product for many years. We dramatically accelerate software builds and tests by safely parallelizing these jobs across clusters of physical or cloud CPUs. And we've had a long history of acceleration on the build side with C build acceleration. But now we have customers who are being successful with automating their tests as well. And here's a data point. So we had a customer with Selenium tests, and they had about 100 Selenium tests. And they weren't running these as part of their CI. And the reason was because the test took too long. They wanted to get developers fast feedback. And so they were doing that at the point of not running the Selenium tests. And so before we started working on it, the test used to take about 27 minutes. And with Accelerator, we're able to get that time down to a little over 3 minutes. And so that's almost about a 7x improvement in test execution. So we're able to bring this kind of technology on the testing side as well. And so if you're using Selenium tests, think that they take too long, this is a solution that can help. Accelerator does the acceleration at the core level. So if you have 2 machines with 8 cores each, you can get up to 16-way parallelization. So that's the kind of technology we're talking about. It's also available in a community edition. So if you would like to try it out, you can download Huddle and give that a spin as well. And to support all of this, we do have a help center, which is we've taken all the different assets we had available to our community and customers to help them and pulled it all under one central umbrella called the Help Center. And it provides tutorials, video tutorials to get started quickly. There's knowledge base articles and also a community behind it. So if you have questions, you can ask and the community will respond. And as well as access to online documentation. All of that is available as part of this Help Center. And just a couple of screenshots of how it all comes together. If you're new to deployment automation, we walk you through right from how you get started with the community edition in terms of how you get it running. It's an appliance. You don't need a whole lot to start working with it. But just taking you through steps of your first deployment, deploying a traditional J2E application, and then finally deploying your own application as well. So just kind of to recap, so this whole DevOps transformation, it is a journey, and it happens in pockets, and you have to pick the technology that'll kind of see you through the transformation, and having a platform is really important. The other thing that I would leave you with is ARA and configuration management, they work together to automate the delivery of applications into your environments. So if you have Chef or Puppet, happy with it, encourage you to explore ARA as well and see how they can all work together. Electric Flow Release unifies traditional release and CD pipelines in a single offering. And finally, with Electric Accelerator, we're able to reduce your build and test cycles. So that's worth remembering. So that's pretty much it for my session. We have a few more sessions later in the conference. So if you want to learn more about the technology, if you're new to Electric Cloud, Sam Fell has a session on Wednesday. If you want to learn more about unified pipelines and releases, session on tomorrow by Anand Dahire. And then if you're interested in that SELENIUM acceleration, I encourage you to go to a session by Tanay. He's going to be talking about how we do that. And of course, demos in the exhibit hall, and then the downloads that I mentioned, both for Electric Flow as well as for Huddle. Thank you.